So this week's Shibuya toast, we have 3 components: bread, sticky toffee sauce, and ice cream. Let's get started. To grab our strong flour here, and we're going to add 345 grams of bread flour to our stand mixer, 7 grams of salt, 30 grams of sugar, 7 grams of yeast, 138 grams of milk, and we're going to start our stand mixer on a low speed until our mixture has just started to come together. Now while that's mixing, we're going to add 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. And then we're going to let our mixer mix for around 5 or so minutes. Now while that's mixing, we're going to make something called a tangzong. I think I'm saying that right. So to a pan over low heat, I'm going to add 23 grams of bread flour, 30 grams of water, and 70 grams of milk. And then I'm going to just keep mixing this over low heat until we get a nice thick slurry forming, and I'm going to add that directly to my bread dough. Now by adding this, we're actually going to help the bread absorb more water in our final product, just basically giving us a softer texture and stops the bread from drying out. Now once our tangzong is added to our mixture, we're going to add 35 grams of butter in small knobs until that is also well combined. Now hopefully after 10 to 12 minutes of total mixing time, our dough should have changed texture. Now with a little oil on my hands, we should be able to remove the dough from the dough hook without leaving any excess behind, just saving on that dreaded cleanup. And now looking at the dough, you can see how much gluten has developed. It's stretching really well. And now to check if your dough has developed enough gluten, if you stretch it out nice and thin, you should see it has this window pane effect. So now I'm going to spend some time and try and get a little bit of tension in the dough by shaping it into a ball, pulling the dough over on itself, and then placing that into a lightly oiled bowl, and then covering it in a tea towel for 30 to 45 minutes until it has doubled in size. And voila! So now I'm just going to get my hand in there and I'm going to start to push out as much of the air as possible, collecting the dough and then placing it onto my surface. Now you want to spend some time here and actually flatten out the dough, just getting out all those air pockets. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to shape it into a rough ball. Nothing special here, just going to stretch it in on itself just to get a nice smooth surface. Occasionally I could use my pinkies and just draw that dough in, developing a little bit of tension, and then just cover that with a bowl for around 10 to 15 minutes just to let that gluten relax. Now the surface you see here is going to be the surface of our actual dough, so I'm going to just dust it with a little bit of flour just to keep that side smooth. Now we're just going to flip that on its rear, give it a little spank and flatten that out before I proceed to roll my dough in on itself, trying to get as much tension as I possibly can, pulling the ends in on themselves just to get a good seal. I'm then going to get my pinkies again and I'm going to just start to pull it forward on itself just to get more and more tension. Now as soon as that dough is done, I'm going to get my baking tin, place that seam side up into my tin and let that rest for 30 to 45 minutes with the lid on, stopping it from drying out. Now after giving that dough enough time to just do its thing, we'll put it into our oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 35 minutes. Now straight away you can see that golden brown crust, and you can also see the dough has taken up the volume of the container. Now on my first attempt you can actually see the dough has slightly concaved in on itself, so in later recipes I've just added 10% to my dough mixture and that's just helped it maintain that little bit of structure. But come on, still a bloody good loaf of bread. Now onto our gorgeous milk ice cream. So to a bowl we're going to add 240 grams of milk, 240 grams of full fat cream, 250 grams of condensed milk, 340 grams of evaporated milk, 40 grams of milk powder, making sure that is well whisked in before adding 1/4 tablespoon of gelatin and whisking until well combined. Now straight away I'm going to add that mixture into my ice cream bowl. Now rest assured this is not a sponsored video, my extremely low sub count is proof of that. So now if I could ask you to just like and subscribe, hit that notification bell and send it around. Everyone loves bread and ice cream, come on. Now after 30 to 45 minutes you can see that transformation. Creamy, smooth absolutely fantastic ice cream. Now I'm going to transfer that into my ice cream tub and let that sit for 4 hours or overnight, just to firm up a little bit. Okay, if you take anything away from this recipe, let it be this sticky toffee sauce. 175 grams of demerara sugar, 170 grams of butter, 500 grams of double cream, a good few twists of sea salt, 22 grams or 1 tablespoon of treacle, 22 grams or 1 tablespoon of golden syrup. Now mix that over low heat for 2 to 3 minutes until all that sugar is dissolved. Now lastly, adding 1/2 to 1 tablespoon of corn flour to thicken it to your liking. Now there's probably a little too much sauce here, but trust me, you're gonna want to save it. This stuff is really good. Now as I'm stirring this, I just looked up and I saw this. Okay, back to it. We have our beautiful Shibuya loaf right here, and we're just going to give that a nice little cut in half. Look at the inside of that. A nice, easy, moist, fluffy loaf of bread. I'm now going to take my knife and run it around the outside of the bread, around about 1/2 inch from the bottom. I'm then going to take my spoon and gently remove the inside of the bread. Okay, I'm then going to cut my bread into nice little cubes, making sure I don't throw any of it away. I'm then going to take my hollowed out loaf and my bread cubes and place that into my oven at 180 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes until nice and crisp. Now on to assembly. I'm going to start by placing some sticky toffee sauce on the inside of my toasted bread, before adding a little bit of my bread cubes. Following that with a little bit of chopped banana, a good spoon of milk ice cream, some more toasted cubes, a little more banana, and why not an extra scoop of ice cream, followed by a bunch of sticky toffee sauce. I swear this recipe is just about this sauce. Look at that. Okay, time to dig in. The toast just absorbs all the creaminess from that ice cream, the saltiness, the sweetness from that sticky toffee sauce. The banana just gives a nice little bit of freshness. This is one of the best desserts, but I'll tell you what, there is no way I can finish this by myself. I guess I'm just going to have to share.